In the news this week, lifting the veil on controlled burns procedures. Is Australia well prepared for bushfires?
Also falling behind, PTSD war veterans on the edge as suicide rate skyrockets.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Lung and Daniel Stanislav.
Good evening. With the bushfire season returning to Australia, controlled burns and other preventative actions are underway. But doubt remains whether our state is ready to combat bushfires in the upcoming months. We'll begin with Nelson Liu's exclusive report on the behind the scenes of bushfire prevention.
Firefighters usually put them out, but here the fires are being purposely lit.
It's a very important tool for us to mitigate the risk of bushfires that occur every summer in Western Australia.
It's called a prescribed burn, and it works by igniting public bushland during cooler temperatures to prevent fires during summer, cutting the risk of huge blazes.
Well, they help us reduce the fuel load and manage the bushfire risk, and thus be able to protect communities.
It's part of the state government's bushfire prevention measures, with the Department of Fire and Emergency Services preparing for bushfire season.
We're more prepared than we've ever been. We've been running planning all through winter and taking recommendations from some of the reports from last year and working to be as prepared as we possibly can be.
The state government says it's working to improve its bushfire preparation and response following deadly fires such as in Esperance. But the opposition says WA isn't ready for bushfire season despite preventative measures.
We've just not done enough mitigation for many years, so what would be a hot fire that could be manageable now becomes a conflagration, of gigantic proportions.
And with summer around the corner, DFES says people can prepare for fires by planning ahead. It's about preparing your house, it's preparing a plan, and knowing that all your family members know what's in that plan. Nelson Liu, WAMN News.
Australian war veterans have become the forgotten victims of PTSD with a dramatic increase in suicide rates. Despite the federal government's recent announcement to provide further assistance, social groups said more could be done to save the veterans who are on the edge. Cassandra Elliott reports.
This year, Australia has lost 50 veterans to suicide. That's more than we've lost in active duty since 1999. These Aussie vets aren't getting the help they need, and this number is alarmingly high.
What I would say about that is they don't have the full figures. They don't keep the full figures.
Miss McDonnell was involved in the successful lobbying of WA's Invisible Wounds PTSD Awareness Day, which is held annually on the last Friday of May.
This year we've lost more veterans to suicide than we have in the last 17 years in conflict. Why is the transition to civilian life so difficult? And what's being done to help those who served our country once they return home?
Everything just seems to flow as it goes in a civilian job, which is probably why a lot of them head towards the police force, the fireys, the ambos, where there is a structured system of what they do and how they do it.
The government has dedicated $24.8 million to improve processes in the Department of Veterans Affairs, and a further $23.9 million to improve claims services within the department. If you have any concerns about the mental health of you or someone you know, Lifeline can point you in the right direction. Cassandra Elliott, WAMN News.
Police are urging parents to talk to their children about the dangers of drug abuse after 150 packages of illicit drugs were seized in the lead up to Labours. The operation was conducted over 4 days and small packages intended for individuals as well as larger packages were seized. Ecstasy, methamphetamine, cocaine, LSD and cannabis were some of the drugs seized. Acting Police Commander John Bollatine said it's not known if all the drugs were destined for Labours, but this should be a reminder to anyone intending on selling drugs that they will be stopped.
Fremantle is set to become one of Australia's largest heritage listed areas, with the west side of the city being earmarked for preservation. Lauren Darge has a summary.
Fremantle will soon become one of Australia's largest heritage listed areas. The area will include Fremantle's West End and include 400 business owners, 250 buildings and 20 hectares of land. The Mayor is excited about Fremantle CBD becoming a new hub.
It will be a really strong boost for tourism. I think having one of the largest intact heritage precincts in Australia, I think is something that people will want to see, the uniqueness of that. But also it means that business owners and old property owners in this area can actually access state heritage grants and those kinds of things for their properties.
More than 30,000 people lose their jobs at Volkswagen as the company attempts to find savings to recover from its diesel cheating scandal. The cost-cutting measure is expected to save VW at least 3.7 billion euros in the next 3 years. The company chief has apologized to the employees during a press conference. Despite the company shifting its focus onto electric cars with 9,000 new jobs created, experts warn that the legal nightmare for VW is not over, with more settlements and buybacks are expected in the upcoming years.
Meanwhile, US Secretary of State John Kerry warns that the failure to combat climate change will bring devastating consequences. During a speech in the International Climate Change Conference in Morocco, Mr. Kerry said it's last chance to save Earth as the effects are irreversible. His comment comes after President-elect Donald Trump expressed his doubts, calling global warming a hoax.
So good things are happening. The energy curve is bending towards sustainability. The market is clearly headed towards clean energy, and that trend will only become more pronounced.
And finally this week, Australian veterans who fought during the Korean War was awarded with peace medals by the South Korean ambassador. During a luncheon at Anzac House, Ambassador expressed the country's undone thanks to the soldiers who fought with the Americans back in the 50s.
On behalf of the people and the government of the Republic of Korea, I would like to express our profound gratitude to you. I would also like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to those 33 Australians who are still listed as missing in action.
And those are the top stories you need to know this week.
We have the latest news on our website and Facebook. Enjoy your week.
See ya.